Come on, baby.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another edition of our weekly real estate backstory. We do this every Monday morning, just to kind of get you a good feel of what's going on in the real estate market, the comings and goings all around Atlanta, and what we see happening. So, my name is, I guess I should start with the introduction. My name is Alan Richard. I'm the managing broker at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners. Good morning.
Good morning. All right. We want to kind of jump in with both buyers and sellers because we definitely have an evolving market. Our only constant is change.
Absolutely.
And so, right now for our sellers, and we're moving into a really good time to be a seller. And sometimes our sellers have this I guess you call it misconceptions of, I can just stick my home out there on the market and I'm good to go. And while that is true to a certain extent, if you do that, it's going to cost you money.
It is.
And so, one of the things that one of the big regrets, sorry, just having those days. But one of the big regrets a lot of sellers have is they wish they had more time to prepare their home to sell. And so
I don't know about regret, but one of the things that they probably learned throughout the process.
Yeah. So what do we need to be coaching our sellers on in getting their homes ready to sell? Because we need to be reaching out. The average seller thinks about selling their home for 5 months before they actually do it. And so the very first thing is cleaning, a deep clean. I don't mean just like just spit wash kind of thing. We're talking about a deep, thorough cleaning. And the other part of that is windows. Like, when's the last time you washed all of your windows inside and out?
It's been a while.
For a lot of us, it really has been, kind of thing. And then we've got to go through and declutter, and then declutter and declutter again. And actually, this is a very important part of selling your home. When you have mentally decluttered your home, it makes it much easier to
it doesn't become personal at that point, and you're ready to move and you're ready to negotiate, so to speak.
Painting where it needs to be done. If your sellers are not going to paint, at least use the magic eraser. We love the magic eraser because it really does do a pretty good. I mean, it's not as good as a fresh coat of paint, but it's definitely better than nothing at all, kind of thing. After that, you kind of got to turn your sights outside. How's our curb appeal look? Because right now we're heading into, like we just had, it's the first day of spring this past week. And so we are officially into spring. Things are starting to bloom. Everything's going to be turning green here for the next couple of weeks, kind of thing. And I'm going to be sneezing all the time and everybody's going to think it's coronavirus. But anyway, we need to be looking at the curb appeal outside. Looking about, are we having any kind of pest control issues that we need to deal with? You walk in, you see if a buyer walks in, sees anything to do with pests, it's a huge turnoff, and it's also going to cost you money. What other ones do you think?
Well, honestly, depersonalize your home. All those memorabilia and also personal pictures. Honestly, you want to keep those. So go ahead and pack them up because they'll make your moving that much easier.
You can have a couple, but you shouldn't have like the wall of grandchildren kind of thing. That's not going to.
A wall, a stage of different developments.
Yeah.
So, and I know it means a lot. I really do. Because I'm guilty of that. Not necessarily the whole wall, but I got it in my shelf.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you depersonalize it and you make it much cleaner, the new buyer can see what they can put in there in its space versus what you currently have, because it can be very distracting.
We also have to look at how we're going to handle pets. Dogs and cats are a big deal. So many of us have animals. We know we do. And you have to start thinking about how am I going to handle that for showings and, as far as getting the home prepared, but also the smell. The smell. Like some things like we have dogs. So dog food just stinks. Is it in containers and sealed up?
Sometimes
they smell bad. No, it just does.
If you have one of those hyperallergenic dogs, they probably don't smell. So
make sure all your light bulbs have the highest wattage in them. Fixing the basics of what needs to be fixed, and possibly even renting a storage unit. That kind of stuff is always a thoughtful and smart way to kind of get, because one thing that April 11th, 10th is like the best week to sell. So we should be really talking about these things with our sellers right now. Like these should be part of the posts on social media, into our databases.
It takes a while for things to go online. So be proactive. Go ahead, prepare your client so you're not ending up at the best season of the year and not having an inventory to go online.
Now, one thing that we're going to share here in a little bit, there was a new study by the National Association of Realtors on, what are we seeing in the market? And I'll share that with you in a minute. One of those is that a lot of the main reason why deals are dying, number one, continues to be home inspection issues.
All right.
And so as, we need to be looking at how home inspection, we're talking about almost a quarter of all, when a deal dies, 25% of the time, it's because of an inspection issue that didn't get handled right or just wasn't done. So it starts with before your buyers go to the home inspection, and they should go and you should go. But before the home inspection, you need to have a discussion with your clients well in advance. You don't wait until you've got bad news to handle it, kind of thing.
Right.
And not saying every home inspection is bad news, but you need to be ahead of this out there. So before the home inspection happens, you need to have a discussion with your buyers and your sellers too, for that matter. But that's a different subject, right? Because first of all, are the home inspectors going to find something?
Absolutely.
Every single time, right? That's their job. And they would be like, well, everything's good here. Not a single home inspector ever will do that kind of thing. And now also, this is not like a honey-do list for the sellers, especially in this market, right? We're looking for the big ticket items. We're looking for deal killers.
We're
really what
looking
we're
at
looking for.
HVAC, plumbing, the roof, any foundation issue, mold. So these are just basic
Hardcore issues, right?
People are looking for health and hazard safety issues.
Now, all the other stuff is important for your buyers.
Correct.
But it's understand that the days, used to be back when it was a buyer's market, I think 52 items was the biggest one we ever got on a repair request, where they were legitimately wanting the sellers to repair 52 items. And we had a seller that repaired 52 items, kind of thing. That's not this market, and that's not going to happen right now. So that doesn't mean that your buyers don't need to know that, and maybe that becomes their honey-do list, but it's not in this market. It won't be a viable option for there. So once you do have the home inspection and it comes back and you've got any kind of challenges on it, really you got about 4 things that you can really do.
And sometimes knowing what the cost for some of those minor things, you may be able to talk to your seller in getting those done, just to make everything amicable. Sometimes it is a reduction in sale price because now the buyers bring in all the money for closing.
That's one.
And escrow, along with funding fees. So, if you can do reduction, and that's less money the buyer has to bring in and not more money the buyer can do to repair themselves.
Well, asking for a reduction is one. The other one is we can request the seller to do repairs. And when it's a deal breaker issue, those are discussions that we have to have. Now, the other side of that is your buyer has to be ready to walk away if the seller's not going to make those kind of repairs either. So on all of these,
please don't wait until you get a response. If your due diligence is ending, please proactively terminate the contract that evening if no response is from seller, because it's easier to reinstate a contract than is lose your client's earnest money.
Yeah. So we can request for repairs to be done. We can ask for a price reduction, or we can request a credit for the amount of that of said repair, kind of thing. The fourth option, which is the one that I don't think anyone really loves, is that your clients get their earnest money back. And so, but on any deal, the buyers have to be ready to walk away on deal breaker issues.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we've had buyers push back and say, well, gosh, I just wasted all this money. No, you didn't waste any money. This is the cheapest insurance you'll ever get, right? Because if the sellers aren't going to do it and you don't want to pay for it, then this just, yes, that may have cost you the amount of the home inspection, but it saved you thousands or thousands of dollars, or it's headache, or whatever it may be, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I want to share with you. So, if for those of you that were at the sales meeting, and I hope a lot of you were, we do a sales meeting every single month. And so one of the things that I shared at our recent sales meeting was, our how Zillow is one of their big profit centers here is that they're really coming after agent commissions, kind of thing. Well,
that's where they're earning their money, y'all. So it's through referral back to us on the data that we give them.
So it turns out it's not just Zillow. So Zillow, Compass, Opendoor, they've set their sights on agent commissions. mainly because there's $100 billion in commissions every year. Okay. And
Absolutely.
so these guys are like, ooh, I sure would like a piece of that out there. And so that's where a lot of these tech companies are focusing, because they've tried to redo the way real estate's done. They've tried all this other kind of
They
stuff.
tried to discount the agent, the selling commission, and everything
all that
else.
kind of stuff. But really, what they're doing is they're coming after agent commissions kind of really, really big time. And so this was, I shared this in our sales meeting. Zillow's looking at increasing Premier Agent from a $1.5 billion business to a $5 billion business, and that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that is only coming out of agent commissions,
and that's all the referral at 35% that the agents are currently giving up.
Compass, which is I'm not trying to say anything bad about another real estate brokerage, but this is actually from Mike Dupree, not from me, about their target is to pay agents less. Now they're running lead systems and things like that to where their share increases and the agent's share are decreasing on their kind of thing. So if you're a Compass agent, basically your company's plan for profitability hinges on reducing your commission over long term. Sorry about that. And then Opendoor. Opendoor has been pushing its especially its buyer side commissions. They had been running, they run anywhere between 3 and 1.5%, and they've been running 1.5% really heavy. And then actually Mike Dupree issued this, and then they stopped doing that. They've been running around 2.25%. And so, but
every dot that you see on the line graph is every time they have set their commission during that timeline to be that percent. So since
Mike Dupree, here in Atlanta,
and since Mike Dupree has made an announcement about Opendoors and his policy, you can see it jump back up from a 1.5 to about 2 to 2.25 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So on one hand, we understand that if agents are not going to do lead gen, there's companies that are going to do them for them. And lead gen doesn't come cheap. It doesn't come easy. But if you're looking for that easy button in real estate, there's a lot of guys out there that are willing to do that. And then if you're willing to give up your commission, that's out there. Big tech companies are really, really planning on
ciphering.
Well, I mean, I guess they're hoping that can be a revenue stream for them. Is that we're not willing to do the work.
Well, a lot of us sometimes are administratively strong, but socially and sphere wise are not as strong as other who can actually generate the leads. So I get it. So stay with your strength. This is what you need to grow and to do your business.
It's your business. So
it is your business, but we just want you to know that this is what the cost of doing business. So make that part of your business plan when you are doing that as an expense.
Yeah. Well, but the other side here is that, like, from our point of view, so like we rolled out KvCore this past week, and we're super excited about it. And a lot of folks are raring to go. And so we had the whole rollout meeting and kind of thing. And it was a little bit of a get set, get ready, and then wait some more. And so we don't, and we've already got folks in there learning. There's so many ways you can get in and start learning yourself. But what we're doing this week is we're also doing additional training. So we broke and I'll talk about this a little bit more, but on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all at 1:00 this week, we have all additional trainings on KvCore. But where I really want to talk about this is that KvCore is one of those programs that's going to enable you to build a lot of referral business, as well as to be able to fight these other companies. This is up to you about whether or not you want to pay out billions of dollars. I mean, not you personally, but as an industry, do we want to pay out billions of dollars to these companies and support these companies, or do we want to keep as much of those commissions as we can as ourselves? And so from a brokerage level point of view, one of the best things we can do is make sure that we provide you with the tools and the support and the assistance to try and grow your business. Because Ming and I both are heavily invested in making sure that your commissions go up. We want you to make as much money as absolutely possible.
Absolutely.
And so that's just a really, really big deal to us. And so that's partly why we're really excited. We'll talk more about the training here in just a minute. The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates for the first time since 2018. Now, we've known this is coming. And so, right now the Fed is kind of facing a really tricky balance, because if you look at what happened when the Feds fought inflation in the 80s. They didn't do a real good job because they drove us right into a recession. And so it's kind of that balance between, do I raise these rates too much? And the whole idea is that they want to slow the economy. They'd like throw a little bit of cold water on it, but they don't want to put the fire out. And that's kind of where they're at. And so they came out with a 1/4 point raise this past Wednesday, which was pretty much what we're expecting out there. Now, the interesting thing is that even with that, retail sales were lower, but we are continuing to see those rising inflation, and that's what they're fighting. But what's the rate hikes really going to cost us? Because understand that interest rates for mortgage interest rates are not tied to the federal fund rate. Credit cards, home equity lines of credit, things like that, that's where it's going to cost you. Now, for every 1/4 point that the Fed raises, it equates to an extra $25 in for $100,000 debt kind of thing.
For $10,000.
So basically, for the average homeowner, for the average American, every time they raise it a 1/4 point, it ends up costing each person around $150 a person. That's kind of like just the general gist of it. And so now, bad news is they're talking about raising this up to 6 more times this year. And so if instead of it being $150 for a year times, now we're talking, about $1,000 is what
it's quite substantial.
It could impact all the
potentially.
Now, some folks will say, well, but now my savings account will work really good and my CDs will earn more interest. No, with inflation, they're still losing money on those kind of things.
So if you have some high interest credit card, I suggest you go ahead and pay those down, because these interest rates are compounded daily, not annually.
Yeah.
So the more principal balance you have
and most of
on
them
your
are
credit
20s
card,
anyway.
and your credit card, go ahead, take it down.
Yep. Now, our the mortgage market survey came out, and so it came in at a 4.16 for the 30-year fixed. That being said, the weird thing is even with interest rates rising, and now part of I know I just said, look, interest rates are tied to the 10-year Treasury, but these companies know, the mortgage companies know that, listen,
they're looking ahead.
This is they're trying to ease the impact. Will raising the funds rate over time also affect mortgage rates? For sure it does. There's just no doubt in there that it does. But the interesting thing is, even with rates rising, we still saw purchase applications up 1% last week. So that still shows we have a ton of activity going on. This is where we've been since 2021 into 22. And I do kind of show, the other thing is that those stated rates of 4.25, 4.17, that kind of stuff, that's what Freddie Mac is putting out there. But then the different mortgage servicers are adding an additional 1/4 to a 1/2 point on there. And so you can see that the Mortgage Bankers Association, as well as Mortgage News Daily, really has those mortgage rates much closer to 4.5. It's really kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and they're doing that in the participation that when the federal raise their rates, they don't have to raise as aggressively. And so therefore they're just planning ahead. And yes, they're making a little bit money now, but what they're projecting down the road when the rates are up, the balance is a little less, and the economy won't feel the hardship of it.
Well, I mean, but the other thing is, if you look at like where were interest rates in 2017, 2018, way higher than that.
Wait. But what was the interest rate less than 3 months ago?
Well, no, but
I mean, you see how that works.
Right. But that's the point, is that, if for folks who are looking at this knee-jerk reaction of where rates are, yes, they've gone up. There's no doubt. I mean, look at the slide we just shared. But in like a historical context, if you look at long term, 4.5 is like it's some of the lowest rates we've ever had, kind of thing. Right. Yes, we're not, and just understand that if you missed the 3.5 rate,
or even 3 at one point.
Yeah, I mean, like it's gone. It's not coming back. There is no waiting for this to turn around. This is, and so this is one of the biggest things that we have to get. I mean, with the changing mortgage market, there's just some realities that we have to go to. The very first one is it's not going back, right? No. Like suck it up, Buttercup. You missed your shot, right? And all last year we were like, tell your buyers, now's the time, and everybody be like, well, the prices are increasing. We're like, now's the time. Okay, so those rates are gone. And so now is still the time, because mortgage rates are going to continue to increase as the year goes by. And so in the past, this idea of getting interest rates without paying points was the
the
norm.
old school thought, but now
We're seeing
people are
so many
looking
more people
at
buying points right now.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, and so, you know, please take more mortgage loans classes and mortgage classes right now, because
Right.
the whole, I mean, I could spend a lot of time talking about mortgage points and how that goes, and we may dedicate a little bit more time to it, to another backstory, but today it's just too much. Understanding how the mortgage works, how to buy down points, what that really means in terms of the whole 9 yards, that's a really important thing.
So the old rule on mortgage was that to get pre-approval before submitting an offer. What's the new rule?
The new rule is you need to get a mortgage or a loan commitment. That means that that loan has already been not just pre-approved, you've been in front of the underwriter.
Yeah.
When you get a mortgage commitment letter, that's like they are ready to go. Okay.
And the old rule was target a home at price you can afford.
Now you've got to look under that market, because we're still seeing last month we were up 18% year over year. And so if you were buying at 325, you need to be really looking at 275 to 300 now, because those prices are going to continue to increase, and now your mortgage is going to cost you more. And so we need to be shopping under our, we need our buyers to be shopping under our budget.
So the old rule was that don't bother with down payment assistance.
But we're seeing down payment assistance being used more and more, and used successfully. Okay. You know, the market is in flux. It is still a cash world, don't get me wrong, but the market is in flux right now. We are seeing more and more down DPA programs that are being utilized.
And what I'm seeing too, just so you know, if a home is priced too high, if the seller is unwilling to come down, they may get offered that with DPA, because they're the folks that is able to afford at that higher price with DPA down payment assistance.
Now, lastly, you know, everybody's like, all loans are created equal.
No, they're not.
And I hate to, you know, like more loans are conventional loans anyway. We're just seeing that the conventional loan market is a stronger.
Still using ribbon and other program, cash program, which really costs the buyer a lot of money.
Yeah. I want to share with you a headline here that came out this past week, and it says,
mortgage.
Boom, no, foreclosures are on the rise. Dun, dun, dun. Here's what this says about the housing market. And so the other headline is, in January, there was a 7-fold increase in foreclosure starts, new data shows. Wow, that's really, really scary. I got 3 big points here. First of all, okay, January's foreclosure rate remains 40% below the foreclosure rate before the pandemic. Okay, so even before the foreclosure and the eviction moratoriums, were 40% below where that was. So this is complete BS. Okay. You know, the other thing is that the housing market is roaring right now. We have way more buyers than we have sellers. Any homes that we have come on the market are just, they're gone. And so,
and not only that, competing buyers are bidding up for all homes, even foreclosure homes. Okay. So don't think just because a house in a foreclosure status that you can take a discount. Yeah. But I will tell you, a lot of foreclosure homes are the homes that typically have a lot of deferred maintenances that require a cash buyer. 9 out of 10, not always.
Yeah, but just kind of depends on the condition. It's always condition.
And may not be eligible for certain type of loan. Just FYI.
Just to kind of prove my point a little bit more, I went ahead and pulled. These are all the HUD homes for sale
in Georgia
for the entire state of Georgia. 5. So like, you know, this whole thing, don't let the headlines, people are you know, the news organizations never have good news about housing kind of thing. So understand like yeah, if and I can promise you that how many, you're going to be in a huge multi-offer scenario on all 5 of those properties for the entire state of Georgia. At the same time, CFPB is urging our lenders to make sure that they are helping homeowners to avoid it. they are also really, really keeping their thumbs on top of the servicers right now. Because if you're a mortgage company and the way property price appreciation have gone on, that could almost be a revenue stream for you right there. And so CFPB is really trying to keep the pressure on the mortgage companies to make sure that they aren't going after foreclosure from the beginning, not because these folks are not having a hard time, but the whole idea is that even if you are having a hard time with your home, you could sell it. Most of
You
those,
still have equity.
there's a lot of equity in there. Now, all cash buyers are more likely to win bidding wars. No one disputes that, but sometimes it's good to have things that really show kind of what it is. So Redfin did this full analysis about competitive offer situations. And so what they found, and the data backs this up, is that first of all, there's the average nationally is that there's 3.9 offers on every home sold. So you're competing with at least 4 offers. What wins offers though? 334% of the time, all cash offers do. After that, it goes with waiving the financing contingency, has a 31% chance of success. Doing pre-inspections, so basically, selling, as it, almost buying as is kind of thing, doing the inspection before it goes under contract is in there. Now, ones that I found were very interesting is that waiving the inspection contingency did not have any significant improvement, and that escalation clauses had no improvement. And I think part of that comes, especially in the escalation clause, because most of our escalation clauses are like this stinking big, and they confuse our sellers. And there's so many, on one hand, we're trying to protect our clients and make sure that everything is clear. But then we write these really elaborate, I've seen some that have been like 3 paragraphs long, takes up a whole page. And so, and in turn, we're seeing where escalation clauses are not really winning a lot of deals.
But I think by itself, he will not. But if you have an appraisal gap along with escalation clause, your chances are much, much better.
So when is the best time, or I'm sorry, when do most Americans search for homes online? And so there's been a new study came out, and it said that the best time to search for
Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Tuesday night, 8 p.m. And so, this graph here shows the most popular times. And this is when folks, Sunday through Saturday, Monday through Friday, whatever, when most folks, and you can see actually the trends are pretty significantly or primarily through the day. It really starts sometime around 10, 11 o'clock and runs through about 10, 11 o'clock at night kind of thing. But during earlier midweek, so like Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, those days, there's a bigger, much larger spike in the evenings. And
well,
so
that's because 9 out of 10, most of them are looking on weekends. So they're just planning ahead to see what inventory may come up.
Yeah, but like, so Friday, Saturday and even Sunday to a certain extent, as far as those evening nights when normally a lot of more folks would be out kind of doing those Zillow searches and looking at properties and kind of oogling at things. There's a whole set of buyers out there that instead of watching TV at night, they go and search through listings, and you can kind of see that really is. So Tuesday night, 8 p.m., that's the best time. So, let's say that you've got a brand new KvCore system that you're out there working with. When would be a great time to show property? I mean, to start listing properties. Yeah, we should really make sure that we're dropping properties for our clients to see on social media, into our databases and things like that, because in the evenings, it's a really, really popular time going on. So Market Watch issued out 5 predictions for the housing market in 2022. And we just want to run through these really fast with you because some of these I agree with, and some of these I think are going to be tempered. And so the first one is that mortgage rates are going to rise.
Absolutely.
We agree. We're spot on that's what we're going to be looking at. They also expect less intense competition. I disagree. And I disagree short term.
I do believe the competition will be intense during regular buyer season.
Right. Okay. We're heading into the spring and summer buying season. Like first day of spring was this past weekend. So we're moving it, and that's the best time of the year for real estate. So Should we look for less intense competition for the next 4 to 5 months?
No.
Absolutely not. You know, I mean, no matter what, we have way more buyers than we have sellers. So now, come fall, I really do expect that we'll see a lot less competition. We'll see more listings coming on the market. We'll see things easing up in the fall when it comes into pricing, which is the third point. Expect home price appreciation to slow.
Absolutely.
I think the same thing goes with that. I think we are going to see appreciation hot and heavy through the spring, summer, and then I really start to see it tapering off there. The number 4 is that price of your home is going to be easier to get. And I do believe that we're going to continue to see more pressure on the entry level, the starter level, and the mid price point than we do on the high end. I think that one's right. And then number 5, foreclosures will rise. I severely disagree.
Well,
let me
rise in the opinion of
compared to where they were,
what they were. Yes.
Maybe, you know, that kind of thing.
They are
but
right
but I
now.
think, you know, that any foreclosure activity gets eaten up so fast that it just doesn't matter. So I don't think that one's going to be one that goes in there. Now, this is Zillow's, and I think Zillow's pretty spot on here, right? So this shows where Zillow's forecasted price growth rate is, and you can kind of see where the arrow point is. That's where we're at now. And so they look at prices going up over the next 3 to 4 months. I think they're right. And then you'll notice that they taper off about the time the summer buying season tapers down. I don't know if you heard that before, but that's exactly what I just said. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I think that's pretty appropriate for what we are expecting to kind of see and hopefully to prepare you out there. You know, now one thing that's not really necessarily good news, and we've seen this kind of going on in 2021, 25 of the 38 major metros in the United States, home values exceeded salary growth. Here in the Atlanta area, you know, it was $73,000 was the home value growth, and you know, before it was you needed $50,000. Then you needed, but in order to maintain those home price appreciations, you had to grow your salary by $23,000 over the past year. You got to make $23,000, and so which is so weird. They also said, what is the profession that made the income closest to that to be able to do it? And here in Georgia, the soil and plant scientist. I don't know a single person that's a soil and plant scientist. So I don't even know what that is.
Soil would be your septic tanks. Okay. A lot of subdivisions still build on septic tank.
It's a bizarre thing.
And
anyway,
they are soil.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm totally knocking. I think it's ridiculous anyway. Okay. But I mean, we know that home price appreciation is outpacing salary. So there's just no doubt on there. It doesn't.
And not only that, the full year rent payment is up as well.
Yeah.
So
now, one other area that is really had a very stark decline here is that vacation homes. Vacation home demand shot up ever since COVID. Now, we've already seen one massive drop in
January through when the Omicron spiked last year.
Yeah, then demand dropped again, then it shot right back up. Well, guess what? Demand has now dropped below
pre-pandemic
primary home. No, below primary home purchase. You know, like you can see what's happened with the demand for primary home purchases. That's the blue line. It's been very, very steady. Second home purchases have been up and down and up and down. And so we'll see where this really ends up, but it looks like it's trending back down again right now. It's the lowest level in 2 years. So second home sales were a big deal through most of the pandemic. So, but that's kind of changed a bit.
And also the mortgage servicer was at one point cutting off the second home mortgage.
Yeah. Well, that did slow that down. You are correct about that. So the Realtors Confidence Index survey was released. And so, you know, first thing is, you know, this is where they go out and they poll realtors and say what's really going on. You can see that overall the number of traffic we have, our seller traffic is at some of the lowest levels it's ever been. At the same time, our buyer traffic is still really, really strong. You see it's I mean, it kind of goes up and down kind of thing, but it's still really, really heavy, which shows that we have a lot of pressure on our market. We still don't have enough availability.
You see the gap.
Yep. We're averaging 4.8 offers on every home. Actually, here in Georgia, we're offering, we're averaging over 5, between 5 and 6 offers on the average home. And so that's just another one of those indicators of if you're not getting 5 and 6 offers in on your property, your price too high.
Yep.
now we were talking about this earlier, at the very beginning when we first started talking. And so these are the problems encountered for this is when our contracts get delayed. When the number one reason for a delayed contract, financing. Now, and number two is appraisal. After that, it moves into home inspection issues, which is what we, commonly see. But financing and appraisal are the things that are going to delay our closings. What actually kills our closing? Number one out of four is inspection issues. So when we lose deals, it's about inspection issues. So please take to heart what we were saying earlier about meeting with your buyers ahead of time and talking about what the home inspection is going to do and how that is. As far as other reasons why we lose contracts, number two is financing, and number three is appraisal. So no matter what, appraisal, financing, and home inspection are going to be your big three. You focus on those three and you're taking care of the lion's share stuff. You're always going to have oddball, crazy things that happens out there. But when we focus on what's really important, those big three, that's the ones that's going to kill the most of our contracts out there.
Yep.
All right. No shocker here. Apartment asking rents are rising. And so here in the Atlanta area, the year over year 12-month trend on apartments. Yeah,
that's huge.
Now this is not just total rents. This is just apartments. So I mean, we're not even talking about single family here, which we will. But this is so here in the Atlanta area kind of thing. You can see that we are the 14th most pricey, or the highest increase in asking rents. We're at 16% year over year. This is kind of what's gone on the overall rent index for everybody kind of thing. And these are national numbers. And so you can see whether it's, the entry level rentals, high end rentals, everything has shot up through and so even though I showed earlier how home value appreciation is higher, renting is not a safe haven.
No.
Right. And so, at least if you're in the game, then you're going to be part of the game. Like that's the hardest thing for most of our first time buyers is that, if you're if you already own a home, you have to buy and sell. You've already seen some appreciation. You're going to do good on the sell. And then you're going to be in that same challenge, but you've already been part of the game. It's for our first time buyers where they're not in there.
And you guys, with the renters, what I think we don't realize sometimes is that if their rent increase, there's no whole lot of disposable income, and that will impact the community and the economy as a whole because there's less spending money to go around.
Yeah. Now, I was talking with one of our agents this week, Miss Amy, and so we were talking about pools. And so guess what? The number one most search feature is still today. Number one is pools. Number 10 is hot tubs kind of cool. So a swimming pool continues to be the number one single most popular search term so far this year. And and ever since the pandemic started, pools were a big deal.
Huge.
Pre-pandemic, pools were kind of like a yes or a no, like either I had to have a house with it, or I wouldn't even consider a house with it kind of thing.
A lot of people look at it as a liability too.
But since then, since the pandemic, having that pool, even in neighborhoods that have community pools, it's a huge deal kind of thing. And so we're seeing where used to be, a much smaller percentage of value was given to a pool. Pools are a big deal now. That really is starting to so when you have a house to sell with a pool, understand the power that pool really has. Ever since the pandemic has started, that's really continued to kind of there. Now we're seeing construction family. Wow, how about you say this? Because apparently I can't.
So the construction is for apartment single family are ramping up right now.
Now here's the kicker though, is that so single family is up, which I'm not upset about. It's up 9.3%. However,
the apartment is what's kind of scary.
And that's the one that bothers us because we want more people to own homes,
not rent.
And so, when investors own apartments, there's so much demand for housing and folks are going into the apartments. And when they do that, they're not seeing the value of home ownership and they're not partaking in that. And so you know, that's a big deal. So while I am glad to see, you know, single family starts up, it's not up nearly as much
Correct.
as our apartments are. So investors are being smarter about that. Part of this is that, you know, our builder confidence is still down. For 3 months. Our builder confidence has been going down. They're very worried about supply issues, labor
That's the
issues, things
thing.
like that.
Is not because they don't have the ability to build. The fact is the supply, the material cost is going up along with labor is being very
Yep.
consistent.
NAR and VA released a new video series on VA home loans, and we're very pro VA, pro veteran. We appreciate everyone for their
Absolutely.
service. And so I'm glad to see the NAR and the Veterans Department of Veterans Affairs have partnered up to try and really make sure that we are promoting and assisting our vets. One of the biggest things that I wish they would do is level the playing field when it comes to VA appraisals. I think that's one of our biggest challenges out there, is that our vets are not playing on a level playing field. If you get a VA loan, I love everything about the VA loan except for when it comes down to the appraisal, and that's because those appraisals are just different.
Well,
they have
and
different
some
standards,
rules and regulation, you know.
Yep. All right. If you have your name at Realtor.com, it's going away. They have allowed and so this is something that we don't have a lot of folks that have this, but some agents do have, like Alan Richardson at Realtor.com. I don't have it, but if I did, that would be it. And now they were going to completely terminate it, but now you can use it as a forwarding to another email address if that is an issue. So folks are like, well, why would they do that? Well, guess what? OpCity is now Realtor.com. And so if you haven't been into that, and if you haven't been part of the OpCity platform, OpCity is the other one that's up
It's
there
another
with
platform like
Zillow
Zillow's.
and those kind of guys, kind of thing. To wrap up one more time, I shared this on a previous backstory. April 10th through 16th is the best time to list homes in the Atlanta market. Or the same thing for Atlanta market. I just want to make sure that we are understanding that we truly need to be reaching out to our sellers right now. We need a lot more inventory. So on CE this week, tomorrow we have Game of Credit. I'm also teaching virtually, business planning for the Fayette Board of Realtors kind of thing. You can sign up there as well. On Wednesday, my bride.
I'm teaching actually in Conyers, code ethics. Okay.
So for those of you that maybe got in trouble because you didn't get your code ethics requirements in, we threw another one in there to try and get you straight. And then I'm going to be over in West Georgia in Carrollton teaching lead generation on Thursday this week. Now, one thing we talked about earlier, and this is something we have going on all week in all of our offices at 1 o'clock in every one of our offices, we are going to be doing live training sessions with the KvCore folks. And so today at 1 o'clock is going to be session 1, which is setting up KvCore. Tuesday is going to be managing your contracts and automations. Wednesday is going to be KvCore website and listing management, and part 4 is going to be fueling your KvCore pipeline. And so these are the 4 basic tenets of KvCore and how to get the most out of it and to really get it started. And so what we're doing is we're going to be putting it up on the big screen or in the conference rooms and things like that. We
invite you to come in and join us.
Well, the great thing is bring your laptop, come on in, set up, open up your KvCore while we have it up on the right, and then we can answer questions. Everybody's kind of there together because we're all going through this at the same time. So be willing to jump in. I think it's a great way to kind of learn with everybody else there around you. Now, at the same time, do you have to come into the office and do that? No, you can do the exact same thing. So these are live training sessions with the KvCore folks in person. They'll answer questions and that kind of stuff. So we just want to make sure that we're putting as many of these things that you have out there. If you're having any kind of concerns, continue to shoot me emails, shoot us questions over there. We're trying to work through any kind of issues we have, and there's always going to be issues. So no matter what, we're going to handle it. So thank you guys. I hope you had a great, hope you will have a great week. Hope you had a great week.
Had a great weekend and past weekend, and happy Monday.
We be a service, holler at us, call, text, smoke signals. We'll do it all. Bye,
Take
folks.
care.